Sorry, I didn't see. A very good morning, afternoon, and evening to all that are present here today. A lot of marketers often offer ABM as the ultimate silver bullet for winning enterprise business in the B2B world. Is ABM really the silver bullet we have all been looking for, or are there many more facets to this? To deliberate on this million-dollar question today, we have some of the most well-known marketeers and sales gurus with us to give their perspective on this topic. Together, we will be spending the next 90 minutes with a very distinguished panel of experts who will be sharing super interesting insights on ABM and the strategies they've garnered through decades of industry experience. I am Oindrila Das, better known as OD, and I lead Markets and Markets client strategic engagements across Europe. And along with me, I have 4 CXOs to let you hear their take on ABM. I would firstly like to request the panelists to make a quick introduction of themselves as well. Sunita, would you like to go first?
Yeah, hi, good evening, good morning, everyone. I'm Sunita Krishnani. I'm Chief Marketing Officer with Softitude, CMO Level 5 IT Services and Solutions company. And I have been in the IT industry for about more than 25 years now, and started my career in hardware and moved to the software marketing. In between and last, I think 7-8 years, I have also been engaged with a couple of tech startups in India, mostly in the health tech and food tech domain. So I was a founding member and have led senior positions over there. And then again, I'm back with my forte, which is marketing with Softitude. I'm currently pursuing PhD as well in management. And I have written a few chapters in some international textbooks on entrepreneurship and related to technology books. Thank you.
Super, Sunita. Thank you. Kaustubh, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Thanks, Odi, and hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you are in. It is a very difficult task now after, hearing Sunita out. It is very difficult for me to really, go and talk about myself. So my name is Kaustubh. Everyone calls me Casey. I am the Chief Marketing Officer and Senior VP for the Digital Sales Group of Airtel Business, which is India's largest B2B company as of today. I think, I've been through the whole IT life cycle, starting like most of the panelists we have, starting from the hardware and then moving through the entire life cycle. I've seen the entire IT ecosystem, evolving from where it was 18 years back to where it is today. Quite an exciting journey it has been, and it just feels like there's always something new which is happening, and as a marketer, this is the best thing which can happen to you, and you have to just keep on evolving, and that has been my mantra, that you have to keep evolving with times and with the newer things which are coming, and marketing. I very strongly believe that marketing has to lead the growth agenda for any organization, and especially in the B2B case, that's really what is required today. And I think as marketers, we're in the best period of our lives at this point in time. With that, back to you, Odi.
Thanks, Casey. Kulvinder, over to your introduction, please.
Thank you, Odi. So again, Casey, you have put more pressure on me now than what you got it from Sunita. But so I am the CMO of SG Analytics. We are in the business of data, right from origination to analytics. So that's what we do. And we make, our bread and butter and some bit of cheese and jam as well that comes from that. So I've not been so lucky as Sunita and Casey, but I've worked in the different facets of comms and then marketing. So I think that was a natural progression, one would call it. So if I were to look at, what we're doing and what I have accomplished in these last 22, 23 years, I have come to learn one thing. Marketeers are a gift to the mankind. If they were marketeers, businesses exist because of that. Only marketeers can take the growth agenda. Like Casey said, the organizations actually look up to marketeers, not only from a positioning, branding perspective, but actually taking new services, new geographies, new customers That's what we look at. So I'm very excited to be here and look forward to this interaction.
Thanks, Kulvinder. Excited to have you here today. Last but not the least, our in-house panelist, Darshan, please give us a quick intro.
So I'm lucky that I essentially am from the business side, right? And thank you, marketeers, for helping the mankind. I appreciate that. My name is Darshan Vatve. I've been in the IT industry and happy to be part of the revolution that has happened in India for IT and telecom. I work for Markets and Markets in the capacity of Executive Vice President heading Europe. As a business leader, I think I've always tried to be a consultant to my customers in whatever form or fashion I could, and led with insights, helped them with business challenges, found innovative ways to help my clients. And I think there's always kept me in good stead. And that's all that is to me. So Odi, back to you.
Thank you, Darshan. Well, now we have everyone here. We've done the introductions. Thank you, panelists. And without further ado, let's get straight to the point. Account-based marketing. ABM has been talked about a lot over the years, but let's start with the very basic. My first question is for you, Casey. What is ABM?
Shall I give the official definition of ABM? Okay, so I'm not going to bore anyone. I think it's in the name. It is nothing but a simple account-based marketing, right? A marketing set of marketing activities or campaigns which we build from a number of activities, and we actually go out, go after specific accounts. But it is easier said than done, right? If I look at is it for real? Yes, it is. It is absolutely real, and it is here and now. More than ever today, I think it's no more really ABM per se. It is really ABE. The reason why I'm saying this, it's not really just account-based marketing, but it is account-based engagement, and that's where it has moved from just pure called as ABM to ABE, because it's not just anymore something which is related to generating responses or leads in a specific set of accounts, but also moved into the whole experience and lot many other facets of the entire customer life cycle, right? What ABM or ABE really we need to think of is, it's like, especially when it comes to this is the part where your larger set of revenues which are going to come in for the organization. And ABM, this particular piece, really just add a lot of value and just accelerate the overall, wallet share in all your larger account set. Now, what do we do in that is again, I think, we're going to cover it, in further, as we move along in this conversation. But it is not just a digital campaign. It is not just a campaign which has got an event attached to it. It has ABM really comes to life when your marketing and sales really come together, and they need to be joined at the hip to be able to execute the entire thing, and literally not just execute, but really strategize, plan, and then execution again. It needs to be, both these functions need to be together, and that's when the real ABM or ABE really comes to life. So I'm going to, there's a slightly long answer to your very, very, very short question, Odi.
No, I think it's well put, well put. Sunita, do you want to add something here?
Yeah, just to add to what Casey said. So it's unlike, sort of carpet bombing, I would call it, where, you actually just figure out that this is the geography and this is the segment where I'm going to, focus on. Unlike that, in IBM, we are very much clear that out of this, these are the, let's say, 100 accounts on which I need to focus and bring the business. So there's a deeper study, there is better understanding, there's better personalization. So that's what it differentiates from your general marketing, I would say.
Well put, Sunita. One of the most difficult conversations I have when I'm talking to CMOs is how the rage of ABM has actually caught on in the market, right? Nowadays, most companies talk about implementing ABM, and it has become an integral part of their strategies for most organizations. Now, Darshan, this must be true for you as well, right? So my question for you really is, how do you execute a differentiated ABM strategy, taking the point from Sunita? How do you execute a differentiated ABM strategy that makes you stand out amongst increasing competition?
Well, we didn't know about this being differentiated, but the customers actually told us. So that to me is the moment of truth and really what matters the most. So what we did with one of the customers, this is again a live example. While I won't name the customer because of privacy reasons, but I think we really took the whole concept of ABM a step further, right? And we just didn't focus on our customers, but we focused on their clients. What I mean by that is the question we asked the CEO was the same, right? The changes in your client's organization, do you worry about them? Does that keep you awake? Right? There are disruptions, innovations, the world around is changing, and the answer to that was yes, right? And they said, but how do you do that, right? How can you help me do things with my customers, because I believe my team understands my customer better, right? And we obviously led with a few examples, and let me try and give you an example to make it simple, right? For example, that you are as an individual or as a company, say a supplier to a lithium-ion battery manufacturer, right? With the whole range of EV, electrical vehicles, so on and so forth. The world is looking at that, right? But lithium-ion is not really a solution to to sustainability or to the carbon neutrality that we are looking at. Lithium-ion is only pushing the problem from one part of the world to another part of the world. So there's a lot of research happening beyond lithium-ion, right? So if you are a battery supplier, you are a supplier to a battery manufacturer of a lithium-ion battery, and tomorrow there is in reality a lot of work happening around hydrogen fuel, green hydrogen, green ammonia. There's a lot of work happening on the glass battery side. So suddenly, if this becomes a reality and a lot of your customers start going towards that, right? Now, when you are a supplier to a lithium-ion battery manufacturer, tomorrow he starts looking at hydrogen fuel. What would you do? Would you react then? Or are you looking at doing something now, right? So you start with slightly more critical questions that would be playing on. Look a little more into the future. I think that to us, according to our customer, was a differentiated strategy, where they saw that not just your customer, but looking at your customers' customers made a big difference, right? And eventually, not only did we go ahead with the project, but we made a big difference to them in terms of what they could achieve as an outcome with pipeline, so on and so forth. But the idea is to look beyond the obvious, and possibly that, according to our client, was a differentiated strategy.
Absolutely. No, I concur with your talk largely, Darshan. Thank you very much for that response. Now, over the years, we have been seeing strong account-based marketing strategies actually live up to the hype it created, say, 5 or 7 years back, right? So ABM has been here for a while now. It's been a reality. Now, with the current economic scenario, we have identified a few mega shifts, right? Such as sustainability, 5G, digital health, cybersecurity, Web3 is the new next thing. And these all add up to around $6 trillion of growth opportunity. So what I'm keen to understand here from you is, how do these mega shifts actually impact your ABM strategies? Sunita, any experience here that you'd like to share?
Surely, thank you. So for me, ABM is actually personalization at a scale. As I said, that we need to better understand the customer, the requirements, and then his buying and his environment, his ecosystem, and accordingly, create our marketing communication in such a way that it strikes and it creates a, environment and buying need for him. So having said that, we basically measure 3-4 parameters or the signals, which helps us sense that, how we can leverage or increase the business with the client. So first of them is, assessing within the same set of services that we are offering, because we are primarily into software services. So primarily assessing that, what is their digital acceleration rate right now. So let's say an organization is, having 100 processes or functions, but might be, at this stage, if you assess, only 50 of them are, being automated or digitized. So that gives us a signal that, with the rest of the 50 processes and functions, I have also the opportunity to talk to him about it. That's one way. Second is obviously observing these mega shifts. So, they are also in the same environment. They understand. For us, the best example is the cybersecurity. 6-7 years, if we talk about 6 years, 7 years back, people were not that much concerned about the cybersecurity, but now the awareness is very high. So obviously the logical bonding is, if I'm selling in the services, then my cybersecurity also comes into the picture. And for me, it is an easier sale because he knows me very well, and we can do the pilot, and we can do everything to make him convinced to come onto that mega ship. So this has helped us in many cases, and definitely it helps us to keep him aware of what's happening around, and in the process he also wins and we also win.
Sure. Kulvinder, what has been your experience here?
Thanks, Odi. So I actually am going to take a cue from what Casey and Darshan said. And so I've been part of, I would say, this journey of ABM for the last 7-8 years, working for software services and product companies. So the whole concept itself, one, I would say, has matured, but the genesis of that hasn't changed. And probably the genesis of that has come to me a little later than before I would have expected. From a strategy perspective, we many a times, most of us would look at the key accounts, the growth accounts, the growth agencies or growth technologies kind of a thing. But from a firm perspective, from a provider perspective like SD Analytics, we kind of used a couple of other yardsticks as well when we launched the ABM as a program. So we looked at the accounts. The top 10, which is from a revenue perspective, top 10 from potential perspective. But one very important aspect was the relationship. So we looked at where we are, for lack of a better word, in sync with the client, where our relationships are strong, where they reach out to us for sort of services or solutions. For us to go upsell or downsell is much easier with that customer because the equity in terms of relationship is bigger than me looking at a firm, which is probably a multi-billion-dollar opportunity out there. But to move up the value chain, I would take that much longer. So my gestation period could be 18 months, 2 years to move to a different line of business out there. But a firm which is only about a couple of $100 million, but I can generate $1 million opportunity from there itself. So this has actually helped us to put the whole plan in 3 forms. Sorry for a little longer answer, but I feel this is very important from my perspective to share. So we bucketed the whole thing into two large buckets. And this is given to me by another friend of mine. His name is Indranil Ganguly. So I don't know, it's something with my Bong friends. So Indranil, OD, KC, and now IG for shorter forms, name that they have it. He told me we need to bucket ABM into 2 things, inform and influence. So look at the customers whom you are, within the organization, customer organization, you're trying to inform more about your services. But look at the people whom you can influence because they are already informed. So their buying capacity becomes easier. Your sales cycle becomes easier there, then informing them, then influencing them, then you bring into the pipeline, and then you do the whole 9-yard thing. So you bucket them into 2 categories. First of all, bucket them into 3 categories, like top potential, top 10 accounts that giving revenue to us, and top 10 which are great relationships, and then bucket them into inform and influence, and then kind of roll it out. So that's the piece I wanted to share because, again, it's a learning from some great friends that I've had, or I am having it as well. And I'm learning from Darshan also, something which he said, we become as a consultative approach on the same lines.
Thanks, Kulvinder. Very insightful. Inform and influence. Got it. Casey, would you have anything to add here?
Yeah, so that was really good one, Kulvinder. And I'm just going to, add on that because I think, for us, as Airtel business, if I look at my portfolio and I'm going to just take 30, 45 seconds here. For us, we are catering to 5 or 6 different personas and similar number of cohorts because the kind of portfolio I have. One, we are a telco, so obviously connectivity goes without saying, but we are not just a telco, we are a telco plus, right? We're actually moving in a direction of wherein it's so a lot of technology, new technologies and SaaS products is something which we keep on developing. We have been developing over a period of time, and some of them have already hit the market last 2 years, and we have started seeing solid growth in those. Now, the reason why I'm bringing it is that one part of my portfolio is to go and interact with the CIOs and the CTOs. The other part of my portfolio I need to go and reach out to the CMOs and the chief brand officers, the brand managers, the chief experience officer, which is my CPaaS portfolio and the ad platform. Then the moment it comes to my cybersecurity practice, which is where again we are one of the largest players. There I am, I need to go and talk to a CISO, right? And then the moment I talk about IoT, where we are number one in the entire country in terms of close to 50% of market share, there I'm talking to R&D heads, the engineering heads, and all of that. Now imagine the kind of playing field I have from an account perspective. So the way we have divided it is obviously like Kulvinder rightly put it. It's those 2 buckets, and plus moreover there is the third bucket, which is actually set of so one is obviously the top accounts wherein we have great relationship, large revenues year on year, month on month, quarter on quarter, year on year, but we need to keep increasing our wallet share as well as keep increasing our portfolio reach in those accounts. But because of the great relationship that happens, from an ABM perspective, there are certain pieces. Again, I'm not going to run 3 different parallel ABM or ABE for from an ABM engagement program for all 3 of them. I need to have a one mother of all engagement plan, wherein I'm going to I will cater to the one-on-one, which is very high impact, large revenue for us, wherein we need to go and upsell and cross-sell more. Then the second bucket is one to few for me, wherein specific set of clients who are spending a lot, but they're not, and they are my customer, but at the same time, they're not spending that much, the amount which, the kind of, wallet share I need to have. There, I'm going to be slightly, increasing my width. And because I have a larger playing field because of the different personas, I will build my entire camp, AB accordingly. Third is my one to many. And the reason why I'm saying it, ultimately, whatever you're doing at a grassroots level, everything has to, go and feed into something, higher up, right? Which means that, you cannot wait for an year to see, okay, how exactly this has performed. And okay, now these are the accounts which have grown because of this. And now we need to put it in the next bucket. You can't do that. There has to be an agility which we need to build in this entire engagement plan of ABM, wherein the accounts are moving accordingly, depending on the kind of interaction, the kind of responsiveness we have had. And we keep on evolving, we keep on iterating, reworking on each of these activities or the entire plan which we keep on doing. I think at the end of the day, one thing which I'm again going to call out is that your sales organization, especially the first and the second bucket, there you need to have a very clear sign off with your sales organization, because they are the ones who will ultimately, your ABM strategy is successful when there is a pipe funnel attached to it, when there is a revenue attached to it, which is a clear closures which you can show. And that can only happen when you have the entire sales organization or some of the key players in the sales organization completely bought into your plan, and they are literally running it for you. It can't be the other way around, right? So that's, and plus, since you asked this question, I'm just going to go back to this question of 5G security and, sustainability. These are great conversation starters, right? I just launched 5G on 1st of October, thanks to our Honorable Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji. We launched the 5G, and the kind of buzz and the kind of conversation starter this has become. I mean, there is, forget about my existing clients or my prospective clients. I mean, my entire family and my friends have been asking about 5G. So 5G is a great conversation starter. Similarly, security has actually now is at the core of any and every discussion which happens from an IT perspective. Like we've seen so many ransomware attack, latest, phishing attack, and so many things happening. And, every day there is something or the other. So cybersecurity, again, a great conversation starter. Sustainability has grown like leaps and bounds, right? Now, is there a business, which you can, is there a business outcome from there? Depends on the kind of solutions you have, but these are phenomenal conversation starter. And we as marketers, we have to start, all of us have been leveraging these conversation starters, especially in the accounts where we don't have a presence and you need to, get into an account. And then again, a very good conversational leveler also when it comes to the accounts where we are present. So ultimately, yes, all these buzzwords which are there, we need to see whether they are, am I going to use it as a conversation starter, or if I have something more, how do I really build on top of that, right? And that's really how I would look at it, and that's how we are running the entire length and breadth of, especially the kind of personas I'm tackling. It gets really difficult to go and, because a CIO talks different language, a CMO we go to a CMO, he talks a very different language, right? So that's why it is quite interesting at this point.
Sure. Thank you, Casey. Wonderful perspective you've brought in here. Just going back to your earlier point on sales organization, right? One of the most intriguing conversations that I have when I'm talking to CMOs is actually around the partnership of sales and marketing teams when it comes to ABM. So maybe Kulvinder, my next question is to you. Do your sales teams actually recognize the incremental value created by your ABM programs and key accounts?
So my answer to that is yes and no, both. Because I need to be honest here. And these are two different tribes. The tribes supposed to be working together, but the goals are, functions are run by those goals that they have it. But it took some time to get them along. I mean, I believe that, when Christmas is around, cows have to come home. So when marketers start showing a value to their business, I mean, my sales team, rock stars, individually performing in each geographies, and when they sit in front of a customer, they look at closing it. They look at closing it all the time. But when you give them these nuggets, saying, oh, "This is something that you can use it. This is something that you can use it," and again, this is a learning from a good friend whose name is Venkatesh Rodham, that if you bring value to a salesperson in his goals, a marketer is successful. That's the goal of the whole piece itself. As much as you can think of brand awareness, brand conversion, all this stuff, good yardsticks to measure. But the moment you feel that he sees you as an ally, and he says that, hey, you are part of the pain and also the pleasure, both pieces, he will come along and he will actually be with you and saying that, can we do something about this? Can we do this? Just to give example, there's a buzz around slowdown, inflation, all this stuff. But in a financial institution, which are one of our largest customers, sits there, we have dovetailed from one side of the business, which is the buy side of the business, to the sell side. Suddenly, and that insight came from a sales guy, so my messaging had to just tweak a little bit from one side to the other side. And that insight actually came. And I mean, I feel so good. I mean, look like a rock star, as if like I knew everything what was happening on the other side, but it came from the sales guy. But that was investment also for about 12 to 15 months with that person or with that guy or the sales function itself. When they start seeing, putting arms around you, saying that, hey, we are buddies together into it, we're going to make it happen. So now they see a lot of value in that. They actually come, again, and not demeaning that, but, marketers are successful when you feel that the other functions can eat from their palm. So, which means you bring that value in. I mean by that itself, not from demeaning again the whole piece, but when you bring value, they will come along.
Very well put, Kulvinder. Creating value becomes very important. I hear you. And because this is such an interesting point of discussion, I think I want to hear some more panelists speak on their experience here. Sunita, any thoughts here?
Yeah. So our majority focus is actually ABM. So yes, they very much realize that this is important because we assess on certain parameters, because ultimately we are into services business. So they have many options and how to differentiate, because unless and until someone experiences you will not make an opinion about you. So in our case, it makes a lot of difference. What we do is we start with a small project, but then we are going forward. We also assess the conversion rates. We also assess what is the faster. Is there a improvement in the sales cycle with the same account, or we are increasing the deal sizes. So these are certain parameters that we have within the organization to assess that how the accounts are moving. And it helped. It recently helped us. We actually, pitched in for a development, just the development. And finally, the end user support also has, come to us saying that, L2 support has to be taken care of by your team. So it definitely helps. And secondly, in ABM, I understand that, funnel conversion and regular sales process is important. But here, if you focus on, increasing the wallet share and increasing the deal sizes, that's the main agenda for ABM, and that's where we drive.
Thank you, Sunita. Casey, what has been your experience here?
So I think I'm just going to take a leaf from what Kulvinder said, right? I think it's about creating that value and also making sure that they are the ones who they need to feel for you as a marketer, right? That yes, without you, they cannot do. And Darshan can, I can see Darshan smiling, before when Kulvinder was talking, because Darshan and I go back, long back in IBM days, wherein he was leading, one of the leaders from a sales side, and I was part of the marketing team when we have closely worked. I think it's all about how do you really build that trust, and respect comes by itself, right? I'll just give one example. For example, let's say ABM has actually enabled that also, in a lot many ways. So for example, the kind of insights you enable your salesperson with, because you have the complete intent monitoring happening on those accounts, right? You any which ways have been running some campaigns. There is an intent monitoring happening. There is some external data which also you have. The moment you put all of this together, the moment you marry all this, you actually literally create a cheat sheet sort of a thing for your salesperson about that account. Okay, you know what? These are the kind of searches which are happening. So, and by the way, these two keywords have worked extremely. They've been hitting on regularly, which means that it relates to these two portfolios. And by the way, these are the key decision makers which we already have in our system. If you know somebody, I think you should reach out. Now, just imagine him going and having a chat or having a dinner or drinks and then figuring it out. From that mode, if we can, the moment we start feeding sales organization with certain, these kind of insights, suddenly the conversation changes, right? You make, you actually slowly build, create that place in that table, on the table, which is very difficult, which comes over a period of time, which cannot be like, just because you're marketing and you're spending, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, sales is sales, and so we have this dialogue. There are only two kinds of function we have in Airtel business. One is who serve the customer, which is sales, and the others are who help the person who actually served the customer, right? And that is the truth, right? For any organization. So it's all about not unnecessarily trying to think about this is mine or that is yours. we as marketers, we need to literally, if we want things to work, or these campaigns or larger strategic initiatives to work, it is extremely important to make your sales guy the owner or the torchbearer, because that's when rest of the sales organization will also align. And that's when the real meat or the real outcome is going to be seen by everyone. So, there are no two ways about it. We have to make sure that, as marketers, we have to make sure that, we are completely married to the entire sales organization in the best possible way.
Sure. Thanks, Casey. And Darshan, because Casey brought you in on that example, what is your thought on this long-standing partnership of sales and marketing teams?
So I'll try and keep it simple. I'll give you two examples. One, how not to expect value, and one, how a great value was delivered. Again, so, I remember a particular situation. I was sitting with a peer of mine. That time I was leading a sales function for a particular business, and I had another business leader, sales leader, and then we had our CMO. So it was a very long day. We were planning, strategizing, and towards the end of the day, 7:30, we were thinking of which place to go for a drink. This gentleman, my peer, walks up to the CMO and says, "Oh, by the way, so and so account, I have 2 deals in pipeline for 7 million. Please use ABM." And I'm looking at the CMO, and CMO is looking at me. And after he went out of the room, CMO put his hand in the pocket and said, "I'm just pulling out my magic wand called ABM." And we had a big laugh about it. But the whole point is that's not how you see the value of ABM, and that's now how a sales should look at the value of what ABM can do for you. Let me give you a slightly different example. Some people might call it cheeky. Actually, it was cheeky. But there was this 50 million RFP we were running with the company, right? And any large deal would have almost like a committee, would have 7, 8, 9 players in it. So we did obviously an account map. The whole planning was done. The dynamics were understood. We said, these 3 are covered, so, not to worry. This one's a neutral, so we need to cover. And there are 2 who are, one was undecided, one was a detractor. So how do you do something which is completely outrageous, right? So our friend from marketing came up with a plan. I don't know whether it was brilliant or not when they talked to us about it, but all the 3 locations, these people were in different locations, right? So, and their offices were in prominent areas or prominent business districts. So our marketing team picked up 3 billboards, looked at their personas, looked at what they do, looked at the messaging, and just put that kind of a messaging with our company logo, obviously whatever our global marketing would permit, on the billboards at 3 places, and they booked it for a month, right? You might call it cheeky, but it did hammer it down, right? The point that they were thinking of, and we thought we got it right, was hammered down by a billboard. Every time the guy sits in the car and the driver drives him out of his car to every executive, he would keep seeing the logo and the message, the logo and the message. Eventually, we won that deal, and I guess it worked. So I don't know how to make value out of it, but I think it worked. So yeah, that's my simple take on it.
Perfect. Kulvinder, anything to add there?
Yeah, I have also an example. So Darshan motivated me to share that as well. On a similar lines, Darshan, there's a financial services or the reinsurance company of Nashville that we were kind of looking at to get the business. And we were among these top 3 shortlisted firms. And the CTO had moved from an automotive firm to the reinsurance company. And we used a similar thing because we knew from which city he was traveling from Colorado to Nashville on a weekends. He used to come back, and we knew that there is only one way out. And we took actually a small billboard at the airport. Okay, at the airport, and the visual that we used was "We get it done." And the handfold kind of a thing, sleeve up, saying "We get it done." Any problem, we get it done. So again, what you said is right. It's just a 3-4 second thing, but the moment he saw the visual, that visual resonated with him, and then he did it, and then he in fact took a picture of that and sent it across to the guy who was leading the business for us, saying that, "Hey, saw you guys on the airport. Nice one." And we knew that it has gone in the right direction. I mean, whatever we would have spent, like, 50K, 70K, whatever, it's worth it because it got the mind share for us. So that's the first part. On the second part, on what Sunita said and Casey said, the partnership between sales and marketing becomes like a movie Lakshya, where we have Hrithik Roshan, and they're going on an operation where the other guy comes and covers his back. And he says, you go ahead, I have your back. If that's the intent comes in for both the teams, and it's again not about, because sales brings lots of insights to marketing as well, and marketing can do that same thing, giving it back to them. If that works, it is a magic. I know it's a very ideal situation to look at, but even if 70%, 80%, you're home.
Very well said, Kulvinder. I think that's a great example. We've heard all the panelists speak on this, and because you spoke so much on sales and the importance of ABM for them, let's talk a little bit about why ABM is such a huge part of key account management, right? So we concentrate our resources on a set of target accounts within a market. We use personalized campaigns designed to engage each of these accounts, basing the marketing message on the specific attributes and needs of the account. But exactly how do we ensure effective impact on key accounts? Darshan, maybe I start with you. Which innovative ABM strategies can be deployed according to you for effective proliferation in your key account?
I did talk a little earlier about, the customer said it was differentiated. So you look at your customer and the customer's client, or customer's customer, as we call it, right? And again, we had a very interesting example. So a very large IT company. It's a full stack player. They started as a hardware company. Eventually, they acquired a lot of other companies, and now they're a full IT stack player. And they came to us, and they had this specific challenge for us, saying that, look, we are well known, obviously, as a brand, but when it comes to power and utilities, that's an area that we still struggle, right? Can you help us with that? We don't want to be seen as a hardware player or as a services player alone. We want to own this space, right? I mean, that's the point they gave. They said we have some customers there, but we really don't make a dent. So we want to own the space, right? So we just looked at that aspect and said, what can we do differently, right? And we came up with the idea of a thought leadership-based account marketing. And we said power and utilities, which means sustainability will be a big play. So we actually wrote a white paper for them, purely focusing on sustainability, talking about the complete, we talked about power grades, we talked about the overall carbon, the net zero carbon neutrality, discussions going around the world, all of that is happening globally. So we set the context. We talked about what's happening on the grid, what's happening on the technology, what's happening overall, and how the framework is emerging. So almost like to the 2/3 of the white paper, we talked about all of this, right? Just trying to establish them as a thought leader in this area. Post the 2/3, we talked about the architecture. We talked about some case studies that this company had. Again, still not revealing the name. When we were almost towards the 14th page or 15th page of the 20-page white paper that we wrote for them, we brought in the examples in the case study with the complete architecture of how this was achieved, right? The complete digitization or the digital transformation, as you may call it. And then we obviously put it out there. So, and then obviously they took it to a lot of people. They used that white paper at events and stuff like that. And the feedback we got was phenomenal. They said, a lot of people started talking to us in the industry that we wanted to go after specifically. And they obviously would have then used that white paper to pepper it wherever it was required, the very targeted content and all of that, the great work that digital marketers do. But the concept they picked up was around sustainability. We obviously hit them in the sustainability conversation and put it across to that company, and then they took it to the market. So for them, it was extremely innovative. They came back to us after a year and they gave us more business. We are continuing to work with them in many more areas. But to us, I think that was the best example of an innovative ABM strategy with thought leadership at the forefront.
Interesting use case. Thanks, Darshan. Sunita, what have you been doing to ensure penetration in your top accounts? Like, what is the right model for ABM here? What works exactly?
So we have been, using ABM, as I said, in most of the cases, and initially started with sales and marketing alignment. Okay. And then we realized that, the customer experience team or the customer success team is actually, interacting with them on a almost like a daily basis, that how the delivery has happened, how has been your experience. So we also brought them onto the in alignment. So basically, sales, marketing, and customer success team or customer experience team, we all work together to give a better experience to the customer, because each delivery matters for us. So that's how we have brought in, and there has been a good success with this model, because this customer experienced guy knows this is a magic moment in this account, and immediately he senses it and passes on to the marketing and sales team. So that's has been working very well for us.
Thank you, Sunita. Thanks. Casey, anything you'd like to add here? Any experience you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, thanks, Odi. See, for us, we had a very different. When I joined Pedal Business 1.5 years back, we had a very different challenge, right? One is that we were known, though we have been generating good revenues outside the whole connectivity piece, but still we have always been labeled as connectivity player, right? So the first thing for us was that how do we really move the needle from just being seen or perceived as just a connectivity player to telco plus plus, which is we call it core and non-core. Non-core is all the CPaaS and the cloud and the data center, the security, and all of these ad platforms and all of that comes in. Now, for us, it was the strategy which we ultimately took was that we need to really first we need to have an air cover built, right, created. Now that air cover one is going to be giving me that entire cover from an holistic point of view. But this also solves the purpose, for example, like the example Kulvinder gave and Darshan gave, right? So like a billboard, putting at a strategic place is not just solving, you want everyone to see it, but also some of your key customers will also see it. And then, ultimately mindshare is going to be gained, right? So first one was to really focus on building the air cover, which is very clearly, supported by the ground support, which is all your digital marketing, which is very, very targeted, your events, again, targeted ones and the mass ones. Then comes all the kind, workshops and so on and so forth. And then a layer of complete insight or analytics, which was missing earlier, right? How do we really, the way we marry these three things together, and then ultimately it really, one, especially in my larger accounts, suddenly they started asking my sales guys, okay, you know what, you do this as well. So that's a great starter from, that's a good beginning from where we were. And then it's all about, you make sure that, again, there's a specific set of messaging. There are very, very targeted, activities which you keep on doing, which is digital or online or offline. Make sure that you keep talking to those personas in those organizations, and it just goes, flows from step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. This is how we have been able to really solve the larger, problem of us from an overall perspective. But it has immensely helped us in actually penetrating or increasing our wallet share in our existing accounts. And obviously, it can't be always be digital, which is, most of the marketers I've seen that it has to be digital, right? I mean, billboard. Can you really imagine a billboard impacting it? But you know what? Hell yeah, that's exactly what has been happening, right? So the whole thing of, I'm just going to reiterate this, air cover, you have a complete analytics layer, which really helps you to identify and do all of that work on an accounts, from an account perspective, as well as from what strategy marketing pieces are working. And third is your entire ground support, which includes all your actions on the ground. And then all of this needs to be really literally, have a very clear measurement criteria which you set, and that's how you drive the entire thing. And that's exactly what we've been doing. So if you ask me today, my next 5 months is really focusing, actually taking the next step, wherein whatever we have gained, whatever wallet share we have gained in the existing accounts, now we are moving into that that phase where we are going to further penetrate and where we'll be much more targeted. We have been targeted, but not the way we wanted it to be because of the kind of scenario and the kind of perception we have had in the market. But today, things have changed in last 1 year. Now we are moving into a very, very specific, very, very targeted campaigns, and that's exactly the way forward for us.
Very insightful, Casey. Thank you. We heard quite a few examples on what works when it comes to ABM. Now, my last question for today is more on the impact of current affairs, right? And this is something that I would request all my panelists to talk on. Kulwinder, maybe we start with you. With the fear of the oncoming recession, right? Has there been a pressure on marketing? And keeping this in mind, what has been your strategy, or what could be your strategy for ABM going forward?
Yeah. So marketeers thrive when there are pressure. I can bet, whether Sunita, Casey, Darshan been kind of ally of marketing team as well, because that extra pressure that puts, the organization or the environment, geopolitical situation puts on you, it forces you to think beyond so far you would have thought of. Like 6 months ago, honestly speaking, this conversation, we would not be having this conversation, but today we are having it. And same goes for organizations, including SG Analytics, that, hey, how is it impacting? Which line of business will it impact? Is it the financial services? Is it the automotive sector? Is it tech? Is it ed tech? Is it media entertainment? What's going to impact? And where is that we're going to kind of dovetail and hedge or focus on? In our anticipation, again, from a data perspective, there are some tailwinds that we can feel it at this point. But it isn't strong enough, I would say. It isn't strong enough to look at that we need to probably maneuver or bring a change at this point. I might change my statement in 3 months from now, but at this point, and also there is 2 reasons to that. As a strategy, we go after a mid-tier or boutique firms. That's purely a business strategy that we go after. And if I were to look at that, how much are they getting impacted? Would I be able to offer more in the same revenue, or can I add more value to that? To one, protect my revenue, and then second is grow on that. So my answer at this point, Odi, is that we are seeing tailwinds, but I'm okay. I know that like I said, if the buy side goes down, sell side comes up, I will be able to maneuver very easily, because if you're deeply entrenched into that organization and you knowing it, and you know the business model, you know where to get it.
Makes sense. Thanks, Kulwinder. Darshan, how has it been for you?
I think with recession, let me try and again give example. I guess I'm good at giving examples because I do keep doing a lot of discussions with people, and that really teaches me a lot, right? So this is, like they say, the classic case of fighting the tyranny of or and looking at the brilliance of and, right? So early days of pandemic, lockdown had just started. There was obviously confusion, chaos. Everyone had a fairly lukewarm outlook towards what was going to happen. So, obviously there was a pressure on us to cut down on the budget. So we looked at some of the regular stuff, and we said there were 2 things that we really wanted to do. And we were given an option that you can do one of them. And I said, let's cut down all the BAU. Let's then focus on, like I said, the brilliance of and. Let's not get bogged down by the tyranny of or, right? So we said, okay, we'll do these 2 things. And then I like the word Sunita used, or a phrase she used, saying that ABM is all about personalization at scale. And Casey also said one to many. Now I'm going to take it to a very next level of scaling it, right? That's what we really did then. So we said, why don't we take ABM to mid-market? And a lot of people laughed at us, mid-market, general business, SMB, what have you, right? And we said, how do we do this? Can we do it very, very differently? Obviously, our government has been focusing a lot on Make in India, focusing on MSMEs. So we said, what can we do with them? Obviously, we had a brand like my last company there. And we said, okay, let's take the story there. So we took that concept that we had and we started with working with the MSME ministry. We called the minister for one of the launch, again, a virtual launch because of pandemic. And we call it a global Bharat movement, right? And we said, all Indian entrepreneurs who have aspirations of taking the company global should be part of this community. So we created a community, we called it Global Bharat Program. We created a concept of mentoring in that. So we had some of the larger promoters and MDs of larger companies as mentors, and anyone who wanted to be a mentee was open. So, that obviously created a lot of the promoters and managing directors coming to us saying that, look, we want to get mentored by A, B, or C. Then we obviously created regions or zones which was closer to their respective cities. And then we obviously put a campaign, a TV campaign around it. So we had cameras following the mentors and the mentees to their factories, to their conversations, to their boardrooms, to what have you. This created a ripple effect, right? And again, we believe that this will work. There was obviously pressure as the head of business to look at it and say, do we really want to do it? Do we want to really continue? So we started this around April that year when the pandemic had just started. That year we just grew 30%, right? Initially we thought we will be flat in the year of the pandemic, but we grew 30%, right? The next year we grew to 40%. We broke all possible record known to all geographies. On a base of that, the next year, which is the year which is now passing, we'll end up at about 100% growth. So on a growth of 240%, we'll end up at about 100% growth, right? So that was to me, looking at recession and saying, can I narrow it down, bring it to a level and really go after what I really believe as a leader for business, right? And which is why I use the phrase, fighting the tyranny of or and looking at the brilliance of and. So we did ABM that was required by the larger accounts, the enterprise account, the strategic accounts, and then we went after this whole, scaling ABM for mid-market, if I may, and it worked. So, that's with my experience with recession. I think we have a second wave coming our way. Like I said, we need to be super focused on a few things that we believe in. Maybe drop the BAU, bet on some things. Yes, it takes a lot of belief, but like Kulvinder said, we thrive under pressure, and marketeers are God's gift to mankind. So I believe in them.
Very insightful experience, Darshan. Thank you for sharing that with us. Casey, what has been your experience so far?
The session, where is it? No, but so I think I am, I completely concur with what Kulvinder, said and what, the way Darshan explained it, right? I think we as marketers, we need to see, we already have started seeing the headwinds, right? We know that fortunately still India is not that impacted the way global markets are, but any organization which has a larger global market will get impacted somehow, right? And I think this is not a similar thing, but we have seen this every 7, 8 years. We have been seeing it starting 2008, 9, right? And since then, every 6 or 7 years, we have been seeing something or the other happening. I think, thanks to the COVID and really no thanks to COVID as well. But what it has done, what COVID does to all of us is it literally pushed us to think beyond what we could ever, imagined will happen. I mean, the entire digital transformation, speed at which the organization were going into digital, going into the whole digital transformation wave, within their organization, that has literally fast forwarded by multi-x fold, right? And suddenly everyone has figured out, okay, there is something else which is work. And by the way, during that time, most of the marketing firms have done extremely well. 2020 and 2021, if you look at, go and talk to some of the good marketing partners or agencies or organizations who really deal in help the marketers. They are the ones who really thrive because they literally have changed gears. From everything went online, and then how do you really innovate at scale, right? And again, now when that happened, if we can run business during COVID, which is a different scenario altogether, I think we as marketers now, it has prepared us for any eventuality, to be honest with you. So if let's say there is a budget pressures, budget cuts and all of that, but I think as a as a CMO, I am quite prepared for it, and my team is also already prepared. We already have started thinking about, okay, you know what, given the whole macroeconomic situation and the way things are and the way things, we are already started working towards, if let's say we have had this, an X budget last year, which when we had a great time, and by the way, we're going to have a superlative time next year also. How can I do more with less, right? And that's something which is now ingrained in us. So as marketers, we just need to, keep preparing. And I think ABM, again, I'm going to take it back to the topic here. ABM really helps, right? You don't really, because you have already built certain systems within your organization where the things are happening. For that, you don't need a regular inflow of money, which you need, funds which you need to keep on pumping in, and which is all paid and all that. During the downturn and during the time when the budgets are, get cut, we end up spending more time on actually, deep diving into those accounts much more than ever, right? I think that's how you just, keep evolving and keep doing things. But, if this situation is going to go out, this is how the life is going to be for the next 2 years. And we have to just figure it out. And I think as people who have already been through what we've, all of us have been through in the last 2.5 years, I think this is okay. This shall too pass, and we will come out thriving from here. So, that's my take, to be honest with you.
Very positive take, Casey.
As a matter of fact, Casey has just given me an idea for the next theme that I would love to focus on, doing more with.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Starbucks coffee, at least.
We should.
Absolutely.
Sunita, doing more with less. Sure, doing more with less. Sunita, please tell us.
So I agree with all of them, because the time in the past also it is proven that the companies who actually, did not cut down on the marketing budgets have actually thrived. So having said that, we have to be mindful about spending, because for us, especially, the majority of our business is outside India. So we have to be a little mindful about a few things. So that we have started bringing in those, corrections in our plan. And I don't see the impact, but yes, it will bring to the extent of 10 to 15%. And some of the things that we are focusing on is not, avoiding things that are focused on brand awareness to more on that, which is, demand generation. So that's the adjustment that we have brought in. The second thing is that, with GA4 and the cookieless world, it would be really difficult to, associate the conversion with acquisition, from where it has come up. So our focus has been to reduce our spending on the paid ads and also reduce something on the new tools and media. So that's the correction that we have brought in and focused more on the demand generation side.
Thanks, Sunita. All right, panelists, I've asked all the key questions that were on my mind around ABM today, and I'm now going to open the floor for any departing thoughts from any of our panelists.
Okay, so I'll go first. Again, first of all, thank you, Odi, Darshan. Very, very, I would say, insightful, and really enjoyed the conversation. That's first part. Second, the piece which I think I missed out in my conversation was on the ABM part was, we thought of inform, influence, but the second part was also to go deeper rather than going wider in the account. I mean, this is, again, the last 6-8 months, I would say purely a case study that I've kind of working on. The deeper that we have gone into the account has borne better fruits for us, better conversations for my salespeople and or a delivery side as well, then going myself a little wider. So that's the only piece I thought I missed out. I wanted to kind of bring it, but Casey, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Kulvinder. I think I'm just 3 points, and I'm just gonna one is, and this is to all of you who are listening in. I think it's marketing, and as a marketer, we have to lead the growth agenda for the organization along with the sales, right? Sales organization will always have a revenue to do, numbers to make, and they will always be busy in transactions. How do we really help them to, take care of, the way Kulvinder mentioned, right? Join at the hip, that I'm watching your back. That's how marketing needs to start thinking. And that's when the real value will get unlocked from a overall, this whole marketing as a function. And whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, it's all about numbers. So, we cannot say now that, I will do only brand management and demand gen is a separate thing. There's nothing like that, guys. Forget about it. It's nobody's interested. If everything boils down to what number are you bringing to the table, and I think that's all the more reason why marketing has to literally start thinking of leading the growth agenda of the organization. Second is that sales and marketing, it has to be joined at the hips, and the efforts have to be from the marketing side. We have to turn this around, and that's when this is going to be, suddenly you will find a lot of things start working, which have not been working, because suddenly the person who's actually responsible for the revenues is also coming and asking you, boss, I don't have a funnel. Can you help me? That's exactly what all of us want. Or I need this help, right? As a marketer, that's the scenario which we really like, when a sales organization or salesperson coming and asking for help, right? That's the second point. And the third is, we have to, genuinely build agility in our entire marketing, ecosystem within what we're building in our respective organization, so that we can, and I'm not talking about from the people perspective, I'm talking about the systems perspective. We should be able to scale up and scale down at a drop of a ball. We should be able to say, okay, you know what, next 15 days, I'll be able to move in. And that's the kind of agility we need to start thinking about and start working towards it, because more and more, the world is going to be evolving and changing, not in 4 years, 5 years, but every 2 years, this is the same cycle is going to happen. So these are the three key points from my side, Udi.
Thanks, Casey. Any key takeaways from you, Sunita?
So first of all, thank you for a wonderful interaction and exchange of thoughts. I agree with Kulvinder and Casey that we as a marketer have to think about, that we are the growth enabler for a company. And once we wear that hat, obviously the focus is on, getting the more new opportunities, on new revenue streams and new opportunities for the organization. And that's where the whole focus has to be even of ABM, I would say.
Thanks, Sunita. Darshan, anything from you?
Well, one tip and one thought. So the tip is, if you ever feel that the investment on ABM is not working because of lack of collaboration, because of sales and marketing guys not getting along, call both of them in the room and tell them that we are pulling the plug on the investment on ABM. You will see them having drinks together and being best of friends. That's the tip. On the side of the situation that we are going to get into, right? Just a thought there is, be bold, right? More so when the chips are down, be bolder. And that's all I would leave as something to chew on for the audience.
Super. Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for your active participation. It was an absolute pleasure to have all of you as part of this conversation. Some really interesting thoughts, really interesting experiences, some food for thought we already have because of you guys. So once again, our heartfelt thanks to everyone who participated and wishing everybody well. Stay safe and happy marketing.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
You.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.